everyone. As we had a quick session, thank you, sir, for that. Giving me the suggestion to do a quick introduction for everyone. Now I know that everyone is acquainted with each other, so we'll start the session quickly so that we are not delayed by time. So our session today that we are starting will be first. We'll start with yesterday's part because we had left some speakers yesterday to speak. So it was a row of technologies redefining examination management, and Mr. Kadir, who is here with us, and he will go ahead and start the presentation first because we had left him yesterday. So please, sir, do come on stage and give us a little presentation here.
So, good morning, everyone. In fact, my friend, by mistake, he told you that I'm going to present something else. But this is skill development initiatives to employability. This is my topic, which I had to do yesterday. For want of time, I was in fact suggested to do it in the morning today. So, I'm not going to take much of your time, but still, I promise you that I would concentrate on my topic, that is skill development initiatives to boost employability. See, Mahatma Gandhi said, the real system of education is one where the children of rich and poor, king and subject, receive education through crafts. Now we'll just have a quick look at the present scenario. Over 3 million graduates are added to the workforce every year in India, and a good number of opportunities in both public and private sectors. See, there was a time when people used to say that the opportunities are very rare, and the skill force is more. Now, in the past, as different from the past, in the present scenario, a very good number of people are in fact looking for opportunities, and opportunities are in ample, both in public and private sectors. And again, 100 million job opportunities are expected in construction and automotive industry by 2020. But the problem is we don't have enough sufficient skilled hands, so we have lack of skilled hands. In the 70s and 80s, things were different, the position was different. Immense talents were available during those times, but opportunities were less, which ultimately resulted in brain drain. Very young people, qualified and skilled people, they used to go to America, UK and all other Western countries who used to promise them very good salary and all. And when we speak about skill shortages, there are two kinds of skill shortages. One is non-availability of graduates in the high-growth sector. Graduates are there still, but the skilled graduates are not available. And if at all they are available, the available ones are not available. Now, a recent interview which was conducted in Kerala, this particular multinational company wanted to have about 2,000 skilled hands. They conducted an interview both in Trivandrum and in Bangalore. At the very first hour itself, they just wound up their program and left to New Delhi, telling that only 2% of the candidates turned up were employable. The rest of them were not employed. That is the state of affairs in the recent scenario. Now we'll just have a look on to the basic reasons behind this, why they are so. And when I speak about the poor skill in English language, I would like to say, see, a skill is something very much acquired. Everybody or anybody can acquire any skills with the drilling and practice. Whereas it doesn't have anything to do with IQ or intelligence. Even a student who gets 0 marks in mathematics can learn a language within 1 or 2 months. If he is put in Bombay, he can learn the language Hindi within 2 months. He speaks very well. If he is put in America or maybe in UK, he can learn English or speaking English within maybe in a duration of 2 or 3 months. So there is it. So skill is something which can be acquired by drilling. Cycling is a skill. Typewriting is a skill. Children walking is a skill. So there are a lot of skills. Likewise, language is also a skill which can be acquired by giving drilling and practice. That's why we suggest that language labs and other skilled training should be given to students. And our candidates are poor in computer proficiency because India lives in villages. Poor people are living in villages, and how can we expect the parents of poor children to buy or purchase a computer which costs more than 30,000 rupees? So we cannot expect all the people living in rural areas to be proficient in computer application or computer use. And again, lack of soft skills also is there. There are so many other reasons, and less important of them. See, other reasons, outdated curriculum. This is not less important, because our curriculum has been framed in the past, which has been churned up, and which were in fact unusable by their overuse. And lack of work skills, I have already mentioned about that. And curriculums in many of the universities have been reviewed only once in 5 years. But in our university, Dr. Salam is also there. We used to do it once in 3 years at least. And this is one of the reasons. And again, we have faculties, of course. And these faculties, those faculties who are teaching in the universities, they are, in fact, they work without work experience. They don't have the work experience to work with. And next, even the trained ones lack work experience. If at all they are trained, maybe a graduate engineer or maybe a professional doctor, they are not able to impart what they are expected for. And again, ignores the trends and technology in automation. This is another reality. See, even those people who knows that things are happening like this around them, they are not ready to accept it. They ignore it simply because they don't want to take up any risk at all. So they ignore it. And why this happened in India? We'll just look on to the background of Indian societies. The parents of India, basically many of them, not many of them, most of them, are very conventional and orthodox. They opt for conventional education. Nobody wants their children to be called as skilled people. Because skill, as I told you, is something which is not related to IQ. It is related to hands. And they don't want their children to be less respected in the society. So they want their children to be maybe white-collar people with white-collar jobs. They want their children to be sahibs. When they go for a marriage or a function, these children or these candidates or these children would be more respected if they are not skilled laborers. So they opt for conventional education other than skilled education. And again, vocationally trained ones are not accepted in the society. Again, the same thing. That's the opposite of what I have said before. And let's glance to a few of these solutions which I have present here. See, first of all, we need to create awareness among the youth and the parents. This awareness could be made in so many ways. The government can take the responsibility of giving awareness to the parents, and the universities also can do it, and other social organizations also can do it. And again, a novel idea which I have to impart is something like the introduction of graduate degree in skill. For example, BA, BSc, these are all conventional degrees. And we can introduce along with them, after modifying the curriculum, skill education also along with them. We have to set apart maybe hours or periods of time for this particular training of skills along with the other curriculum, other syllabus. And again, thinking and doing must be made the watchwords. Thinking, as I told you, it is something related to IQ, and doing is related to hand. So all these things should be done simultaneously. So thinking and doing. And see how this skill formation is done or have been done in the past. Basically, skill formation have been done through family occupations. Maybe a carpenter, maybe something else. Even the doctors, they simply send their children to medical colleges, doctors. So this skill development is done through family occupations. Engineers, they send their children for. Unfortunately, the vice chancellor may not be able to send their children to be vice chancellors because it's a very rare post, right? And apprenticeship, you can be skilled only if you are given apprentice by maybe a master or a master craftsman. And again, this is also given along with the on-job training. And again, master craftsman training. And the real challenges before us. See, if you are honest in your speech or maybe your urge to give skills to the people, first of all, you have to look into the private section of the society. Who are they? The SC/ST people, the tribal people, the underprivileged people, all these people. So we need to commence the skill development right from the bottom. Then only the real thing would come to the fore. And again, provide them with direct incentives. If you are looking up at the SC/ST people and OBC people and other underprivileged people, your speech would not do. You need to pump in money, direct incentives to these people, to these SC/ST people. Give them, award them, grant them money. Even sometimes, money will not be sufficient for them to attend interviews or to attend the place of their skill and training. So give them money. So that is the only way. And again, technical aspects combined with innovation. Ask them to go for innovations. See, people are doing research only for the sake of research. So they should be asked to go on for research with innovation in their minds, because we have been using the fruits of the researches of our bygone people. I am using this mic, this has been invented by somebody else, and I am using it, I am enjoying it. Just like that. What are the inventions, what are the innovations that are being carried out right now in this process? We have been enjoying all the inventions of the past. And are we, just put your hands on your chest and think whether we are doing something very original to the contemporary society. And when we speak about all these things, we have to look into the weaknesses for society or weaknesses of the system. Private players. Now, I just want to mention about the private players, private people or private entrepreneurs. They are profit-minded. Private people are always coming into the field of business to make profit. They are money-minded. We cannot blame them for that. So they are profit-minded, and even though they are profit-minded, they are very cunning and very, very, very intelligent. So that what they do is they just give curriculum, they just give programs to the society which are demanded by the society, or those programs which are in great demand in the society are introduced by them. So they succeed. They succeed in the market to attract people to their universities or their institutions. And again, these people, they take advantage of policy paralysis of government-aided universities. Now, we all know, because I'm working in a state-funded university. It's a general university, as a Calicut university. The first one is Kannur, then comes Calicut, then comes Gandhi, then Trivandrum, Kerala University. We have got 4 conventional universities. And these universities are, in fact, we have our own weaknesses. Like, we are bound to depend the government for each and everything, because we are mainly funded by the government. So we have to go by the stipulations of the government, and our hands are tied up. And when these restraints are there, these private universities are making use of them. They just utilize it. So they come up. So they are able to attract more students to their universities. And again, tend to neglect fundamental forms of education systems, as they are not revenue generators. These government-funded universities are not interested to go for, to improve the present available courses because they are not revenue generators. The need of the day. In the placing setup of new institution, we need to focus on faculty development. Now, it's a truth that we can introduce or begin or commence new courses and programs and all those things. But in the place of introducing new universities, what we can do is we can give skill development or skill to those faculties who are already available. We have to mend them, we have to correct them, we have to make them more skillful and skilled, and encourage research, right? And again, infrastructure building would go a long way in doing that. And we need to go for innovations which are demand-driven. And again, readily available entrepreneurs, managers, and engineers. We can prepare these people, otherwise the society will not be benefited. And technology-driven incubation centers. The government of Kerala recently has introduced startup villages in each and every university. What they do is, they just give the students encouragement and training to find out their own future life by giving them incentives, by giving them grace marks, attendance and everything. So what we do is we just give them, make them entrepreneurs, to make them enable them to stand on their own legs, so that when they when they finish or complete their degree, they'll be able to, they are not going to search for jobs because they have already found out their way of life. So what they do is they start their own business, and financial autonomy is another important thing that we depend upon. Now I just put up a few suggestions to build the bridge between these two things, like tie-ups between universities and skill institutes and ITIs. Every university. No, I'm not asking other universities because our university ourselves can do it. So what we should do is we should have tie-ups between universities in India and abroad. We are doing it with the German universities, so we can proceed with more universities with the tie-ups. And flexibilities in fees. Now, when we fix fees for certain programs and courses in our universities, we are not able to change it. The syndicate changes it. Resistance comes from student unions. What they do is they grab the VCs and our constitutional people. And we are not able to even make a very, very simple or very minute modification in the fees. So we need to make modifications and flexibilities in fees, curriculums and programs. And again, offer joint certificates for degrees and diplomas. Now, in connection with this, we can just make ties with other universities to distribute degrees and diplomas or diplomas jointly. And again, revamping programs as per the needs of the market. And again, this goes on like this, teachers be given training, tie-ups with the governments and other organizations, linkages with industries, intervention of National Skill Development Corporation. We know that Government of India has formed National Skill Development Corporation. So let them take the initiative leadership so that this skill development could be made by them. Now, a few more proposals are there. See, optimal use of university infrastructures, teaching and training after 5 p.m. We know that many of the institutions and universities, they just close their doors after 5 p.m. Why don't we utilize the same infrastructure even during night hours? Because there are working people, for them we can offer classes or programs so that they can utilize the available service of the infrastructure. Training in communication skills that could be done. Linking with industries, I have already mentioned it. Starting of career-oriented programs. Strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. I just make it an abbreviated form like SWOT analysis. And students be made creator of jobs rather than seekers of jobs. Now, just after their education, after their graduation, what they do is they just keep their certificates with them and visit all the private and government firms where they can find employment. Instead of that, they should be giver or distributors of jobs or creator of jobs instead of seeking jobs. And again, universities could sign MOUs with these sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. M.K. Abdul Kader, who's the Vice Chancellor for Kannur University. Thank you for that brief presentation. Now, as we started the day with our presentations, or we can say that a discussion on a topic called as Role of Technology is Redefining Pedagogy. Now, learning is not about cramming textbook anymore, and technology tools have made critical inroads into education. In this session, we'll look all the ways through which technology can be used to enhance critical thinking and literacy skills. Let us listen to some of the pioneers who are bringing in fresh perspectives in the world of learning. So I would introduce first Venkatesh, who has just introduced himself. However, I'll still tell us Venkatesh Saraswati, Head of Academic Initiatives, Microsoft India, to please come on dais and give his introduction. Please give him a round of applause, everybody.
So, very good morning to all the dignitaries and speakers, and especially I've seen a lot of teachers here whom I respect the most, because whatever I am, I always believe it's because of my teachers. So a warm welcome to all of you. So today the objective of me is to cover a couple of things in terms of not only what are the missing gaps. I think the former presenter made a very nice, interesting insights in terms of the gaps are concerned, and most of you would be very well aware of. I don't want to touch more on those gaps, because on ground you would be more aware than what we are also, because you are on the other side in terms of the education givers. I would focus on what industry is doing and the role of technology in redefining pedagogy, what we are doing at Microsoft, so that we can certainly reach out to the universities across India. That's one of our key aim, and help them as we progress in our journey. How we look into technology in redefining pedagogy, the big buckets I go into is create courseware websites. There are a lot of organizations across the world doing this area in focusing around creating courseware. Then use your learning management system, building learning management systems that can integrate and drive the scale at which India and the education in India is growing. Advise educators to adopt use of technology, which is anyways happening across the world through forums like these, and online, virtual as well as e-libraries within the existing systems, which can drive education and cut the boundaries and take it to the next level. And also, in a country like India, it's a huge diversity and unity kind of a scenario. Get more education students together into forums like this, which can drive, which are open gates for fresh thoughts. I'll quickly jump on to what is Microsoft doing in this space and what is our contribution. Microsoft has been committed to this education ecosystem, not only just in India, in more than 180 countries. We've been extremely strong in the education domain, and a lot of our education programs, and you'll be very much surprised, there are a lot of myths and there's a reality. The reality is all our education academic programs, centric around students, centric around technology, centric around training students across the world, are free of cost, are absolutely free of cost. So very few people, I come across really knows all these programs and also know the importance of these programs, and they don't even know that these are free of cost. They always have an assumption that there's a cost attached to it. I will cover each one of them and help you understand how it is helping, and also how it is helping the scale of students whom we are and universities with which we are working. The pedagogy is concerned, which we follow in India. For example, if I just go back into this, I just want to know from the audience which are the things which you have heard or known in this. The list of things, I'll call it out. One is Microsoft Virtual Academy. The second is Microsoft's massively empowered classrooms. Third one is technology curriculums, whether it is on a cloud or whether it is on phone development application systems. There's something called Microsoft Faculty Connect. There's a worldwide largest competition which we run called Imagine Cup. And there's also a very interesting student ambassador program which we run called Microsoft Student Partners. We select top 2-3 students in various colleges across India. We have more than 4,000 plus student partners spread across 29 states, covering more than 2,000 colleges. You know, and there's a very interesting initiative called Microsoft DreamSpark. DreamSpark is about giving friction-free access to students to use software and tools. Any student registered in India in any university has an absolute right to go and download a copy of DreamSpark, by which he gets access to the original software and tools which are required for him. He need not spend money, nor he needs to go and download some pirated version. He is granted a free software through this program called DreamSpark. In fact, Bill Gates, when he visited India in November 2008, that's when he made this announcement that the software should be given free of cost to all the students through this program called DreamSpark. And then we have a very interesting concept called Microsoft Innovation Centers. The previous speaker touched upon the importance of incubation centers and students being the job creators rather than job consumers. And that is pretty much possible with incubation centers, setting up incubation centers, and we call it something called Microsoft Innovation Centers, wherein we give grants to individual universities and colleges. That grant is in the form of a technology grant to set up an innovation cell. So the grant is typically in terms of giving them the software which are required to set up that cell or the incubation center and further drive entrepreneurship. So our job doesn't stop at just giving the technology grant. We ensure that this is a steering committee with experts from industry and academia and college working closely with Microsoft in driving entrepreneurship. So the steering committee is going to meet every 3 months, decide the pattern, decide the technology trainings, and all the technology trainings inside this are done by Microsoft experts and Microsoft individuals. Coming to those centers, we allocate each of these centers to a set of experts from Microsoft. For example, you decide that my innovation center should excel in security, or somebody decides that our university innovation center should excel in social innovation, or it could be in phone application development. You decide the areas, you choose your own faculty to be on the board of the steering committee, and we nominate from Microsoft a set of steering committee members. Together, Microsoft along with the academia develops entrepreneurship and breeds them in their campuses. And neither Microsoft is not looking in taking any stake, or neither Microsoft is looking into taking any business or financial angle. In fact, we burn a lot of dollars here. We spend money to ensure that the entrepreneurship culture is grown in universities and colleges across the world. Across the world, this is a program which is global. In India, we have 50 Microsoft Innovation Centers. One of the institute to mention, for an example, could be a Vellore Institute of Technology, VIT. We have an innovation center there. So the job is to ensure that we drive education, innovation, employability, and entrepreneurship using these. And we identify various areas like accessibility, healthcare, solving India's problems, or social responsibility. Somebody might identify with cloud, depends on the college and the strength of the college and the students and where they're focused. And we pick up one of these areas to develop that. It's a very program in high demand. We get almost more than 3,000 to 4,000 nominations across India. It really becomes difficult for us to shortlist some of these. And one of the criteria we are looking into is we should at least touch all the states. And that innovation center is not only for your college or university, but even students from any place nearby within the vicinities of other colleges should come and access it free of cost. There's no cost attached to it. That's the purpose with which we are driving, and we have set up 50. We have plans to ramp it up as we go next year. If I look back into whom are we working with, we are working with a lot of students in private campuses also apart from government. We are working with the K-12 segment. This year, Microsoft has dedicated, with Satya Nadella's recent visit in India, we have dedicated to take on women in IT and ensure that we develop the talent, especially in girl students who are in the technology colleges, and take them to the next level. That's our key focus. We're working with a lot of partners in the ecosystem to offer them free coursewares. We are offering them a lot of trainings, hackathons, appathons, and all the latest technology-driven boot camps and workshops to enhance their learning level. Building entrepreneurship is again something which we are very deeply committed through the MICs. So these are some of the newspaper coverages and all. I'll touch upon the other 3 buckets which can make a lot of sense for the universities and your students. One is Microsoft Student Partner. what happens in Microsoft Student Partner, in fact, we are right now India is the largest Microsoft Student Partner driving initiative, not only from the competition perspective and from our perspective. The idea of Microsoft Student Partner is, Microsoft individually can't reach to all those 10,000 plus colleges which are there in India. What we do is we nominate and we select 4 or 5 very good students out of your campuses, and we constantly engage with them, mentor them, and ensure these students are made the kind of trainers to furthermore drive training and technology skills among other college students within their respective colleges. So this is an initiative which is open to all the students who are in their technical or non-technical fields. They can come, they can apply, and one of the initiative which has been actively driven by student partners is on digital literacy, providing digital literacy, technology trainings on latest technologies, whether it is mobile application development or cloud development, and also ensuring that they do a lot of socially relevant work. We closely work with NASSCOM and NASSCOM Foundation in driving extremely relevant stuff from social responsibility standpoint, educating some of these underprivileged kids through DLC, what we call a digital literacy campaign. So we do a lot of work along with these students. Imagine Cup is again a competition to drive entrepreneurship. We have every year in India we have close to 60-70,000 students participating and driving skills. Imagine Cup is ensuring that students are brought to a level where entrepreneurship is attached, and the students actually generate not only ideas but ensure that the ideas are connected and ideas are taken to the industry level. And we fund these students who are the bright students from India, and we take them to the global teams in Redmond, where again there is a competition held for across 190 subsidiaries, students across 190 subsidiaries. They bid, they compete, and winners are also given grants from the venture capitalists to take their ideas into the next plan of execution. So it's a very reputed program which we have, Imagine Cup. Again, and it's available to any student, getting education anywhere in the world. DreamSpark is one program. I think most of you would be known or would be using the DreamSpark initiative to engage with your students. This is an initiative by which any student can get friction-free access to Microsoft software free of cost. What we are also looking into this year is a very interesting program called MVA. MVA stands for Microsoft Virtual Academy. As we scale, we believe that a lot of courses today will get online. Curriculum updates are, as the previous speaker said, it takes roughly 3 to 5 years, and some universities maybe 2 years. But today technology is almost changing every month. Every month we see new changes happening. Virtual Academy is one spot where Microsoft has created tons of content on various technologies, right from your IT infra to an IT development to a Windows to a phone development or to a cloud. We have technologies online. Again, students can access free of cost. Not only learn from that tool, they can give assessment tests and they can get assessed, and also they get scores constantly to check where they are and where their learning capability is. The only constraint we find is finding internet connectivity is an issue with the colleges. But we are also looking into an offline development of MBA course which can be installed in universities so that students can take this test whenever they want, wherever they want, in spite of any difficulties of internet connectivity. Also they can go through those learning modules. Again, this is a very structured program managed across the world. This facility is also there in India for all the students to access. Two things which are changing the way pedagogy or way curriculum or way teaching is going to happen is massively empowered classrooms and research connectors. These are the two things. Microsoft has a division to engage with all the learned researchers across the world called Microsoft Research Center. Microsoft Research Center is actively working in these two areas. One is called MEC, Massively Empowered Classrooms, and the other is called Research Connectors, connecting all the researchers across the worldwide. Right from in India to in United States to in countries in Europe, to create a platform where they can share their work, they can collaborate, and they can bring value to the research in which they are working. So both of these programs, the official links are given here. It's www.merc.org, and the other is researchconnector.net. Both of these are extremely powerful portals. So you have students not only from India, you have the students from best of the universities, whether it's a Stanford or a Harvard or an MIT. You have the best of the professors, teachers, as well as students connected onto this portal. It brings on a lot of value in terms of connecting both the communities And one community specifically for researchers, and the other community is all about empowered classroom learning and virtual ways of bringing up the ecosystem. With this, I end and look forward. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. I'll be available after this also if somebody wants to know anything, or if you have any areas where you need Microsoft's help, we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you.
Just one question. We'd be happy to have some statistics. Actually, for a responsible learner, or somebody who likes to learn it on purpose or out of interest, certainly this kind of thing should be effective. Whether if you take an institution, do you have any statistics on how many from that institution showed interest on these students?
Okay. So let me give one of the.
This is a question more on the effectiveness of not more on the effectiveness of the tools, but more on how the learner's psychology is.
Okay. Okay. So I'll take up an example. One of the innovation centers. Let's say anybody from Vellore is here. I don't know where. Vellore Institute of Technology. We have an innovation center there, VIT. In VIT, in the last 1 year. We have actively, when we say innovation center, they're actively engaged in all of them actually. They have a metric and they're actively engaged. We have seen from VIT alone, there are 430 Windows Phone applications which have come out. Students are not just learning, students have built applications on phones, on the smartphones. We have out of those 470 applications which are built, 230 are commercially active applications. There are, for example, there's a student who has built a very nice application, a very simple application. Using your phone, we tend to take a lot of pictures. Every time you take a picture, it always creates a constant sound, or it changes sound as the moment you change. There is an application he created which automatically changes sounds every time you click a picture, and those sounds are being taken from the first camera which is built till now. This is an application. For example, the student came to us, he shared the idea, and we helped him in building this application. He built a base application. We found a lot of value in this application to be taken globally and have it on store, marketplace. So Microsoft mentors worked with them, and they have integrated. Today you won't believe, he's a third-year student in Vellore Institute. He has more than 4 lakh people downloading that application. And with every click and every download, he earns 99 cents. So he's already a millionaire who's been built. And just as an example in terms of the quality work the students are doing. From a VIT perspective, VIT today is engaged with more than 16 colleges nearby where those kids come and use. On an average, monthly usage of the MIC center is roughly around 1200 people in VIT alone. So there are students who are coming in from various colleges to VIT to use the facility, who are not only from VIT but other colleges. On a monthly access basis, the MBA portal which we use, Microsoft Virtual Academy, where people go, train and test that, we determine that score and also the access. On an average, we have 1200 users from VIT alone, every month on month. So that's the new net addition in terms of the program is concerned.
On the other side, if I ask you, what motivated them to do it?
Two things.
Is it that 99 cents?
There are two things. The next wave of jobs would not be provided by TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, Cognizant or Tech Mahindras. Because 10 years back, they are the job creators for India. The next 10 years will actually belong to entrepreneurs. The 10 years will belong to Flipkart, Snapdeal, Zomato, Freecharge kind of organizations. The fundamental mindset is the mindset that needs to be changed in the colleges and students is how can you drive and activate kids to think around entrepreneurship. For example, that 99 cent is an example.
I have no question about the usefulness or why it should be done or shouldn't be done. I'm asking about the student psychology. Actually, many of the students get carried away by the immediate benefit. Really would like to know about what motivated them to take to these things. And is it the liking for innovation? Is liking for doing something good? Or it's attractive, or it's okay, somebody is giving money, 99 cents, or what is it?
Okay, so the needs are very different. I'll tell you how it is. If I cluster these institutes from an IIT to NIIT to a VIT kind of institutions, and then go down to other set of institutions, the needs are very, very different. For an IITian or for an NIT or a VIT student who is doing extremely good in computer science, for him the motivation is, how can I start something by which I can get recognition, build something by which I can make financially strong in terms of me and my team, and expand. The needs at the middle of the pyramid, the students, are typically, how can I acquire skills which are cloud centric, big data centric, or any of the new technologies which are coming up, so that I can quickly go and join a company.
You have intervention center here.
We are planning to set up one in India.
You have one in Delhi.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be more than happy.
It's not together. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
See, the most important thing is, we have all these things somewhere hidden. Most of the people, they are not aware of all this.
Yes.
We
Absolutely.
just see the web and just passing it on to the wealth of information.
Mhm.
So if you bring it, I said my university is having 300,000 students. I'm sure at least 5% belong to these computer sciences.
Yeah.
So
We'll be more than
let
happy.
us make it aware of these
Yeah.
people, these sort of things.
Sure.
Let us have one.
Absolutely.
Join with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I want a question. You said online and virtual education. How do you distinguish these two?
From an perspective of usage, we say online and virtual. In reality, online and virtual are combination. It's one and the same. When we say virtual, we are trying to, create. From a virtual standpoint, we are also trying to create an interface which is constantly engaging. One is online, you're delivering something and somebody is listening. The other format is, we are creating live streamings and we're creating live interactions using online. Any other question? I'll be here. I'll be more than happy to take up any question, or would be more than happy to even accept some of the requests the gentleman from Calicut made. We'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkatesh. That was very interesting, and you encountered everybody, and that was really helpful. Now, as we go on for our session, I will invite Dr. G.R.C. Reddy, Director, National Institute of Technology, Goa, to please be on dais and give us insights about the same pedagogy that we have spoken about.
Good morning, all of you. I will be speaking on technology-enabled pedagogy in the context of India. What is pedagogy? Is it an art or science? Some people say it's an art, some people say it's science. I think it is both. With the advent of technology into educational pedagogy, the entire scenario in teaching and learning process has changed, which I have been hearing for the last 2 days. Technology re-engineered educational pedagogy. The main components of learning environments are content, pedagogy, and technology. IT is not only perceived as a catalyst for change, but also a change in teaching style. And to have IT in any institution, you need these 3-4 facilities: internet infrastructure, intranet infrastructure, information security, and software for academic and administrative purpose. To effectively engage yourself in your institute, you require all these facilities in the institute. There's teaching aids and technologies. One is teaching and course delivery, learning management system, video conferencing, live captioning system for recording lectures, digital whiteboards, presentation on projector systems, flipped classrooms, blended learning, clicker-based interactions, social media, virtual learning environments, simulation softwares, classroom videos, digitized lessons, online forums, online portals. I think if you have these facilities, if the teacher is interested, he can effectively make use of technology in his teaching and research also. So the context and the case for technology-enabled pedagogy is the higher education system in India faces an unprecedented transformation in the coming decade, driven by economic and demographic change. By 2020, India will be the world's third largest economy, with the correspondingly rapid growth in the size of the middle class. By 2020, India will outpace China as the country with the largest tertiary age population. The higher education system, despite significant growth, presents the following challenges. Gap between demand and supply. India has a low rate of enrollment in higher education at only 18 to 19% compared with 26% of China and 36% for Brazil. A gross enrollment of 30% by 2020, which is our target, will mean an additional 14 million university places in 6 years, the coming 6 years. The lacuna are low quality teaching and learning, chronic shortage of faculty, poor quality teaching, outdated and rigid curricula. This I am not speaking in the context of IITs and NITs and some such allied institutions, but largely I am speaking from the standpoint of traditional universities, because there the faculty are somewhat reluctant to change the curriculum. Lack of accountability and quality assurance, separation of research and teaching. We always say, one should involve in teaching and research. In fact, they are not different. In fact, teaching includes research also. One makes the other vibrant, so they go hand in hand. They are not different. Constraints on research capacity and innovation on this. With low levels of PhD enrollment, India does not have enough high quality researchers, because now we don't have PhDs. People start enrolling large number of PhD students and producing PhDs without much quality. Every 3-4 months I conduct interviews in engineering streams. Previously I never used to get, very few I used to get as PhDs in engineering, but now I get hundreds. Out of hundreds, hardly I find 10-15 people really eligible to be in the teaching. So quality, in the name of producing PhDs, we are not concentrating on the quality of the PhDs being produced in the country. Few opportunities for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary working, weak ecosystem for innovation, low levels of industry engagement, because industry doesn't engage PhDs. They prefer only BTechs. Lack of early stage research experience. In fact, our education system itself is wrong. This research culture should be promoted right from the school level itself, from the primary school itself. We always talk about research only after coming to BTech or MTech or some such course. That's not correct. You have to change your mode of teaching right from the primary school. Uneven growth and access to opportunity. Access to higher education is uneven with multidimensional inequalities in enrollment across population groups and geographies. The government focuses accordingly on expansion, equity and excellence, and where to work within this framework, expansion, equity and excellence. Though they appear to be mutually contradictory, in fact we have to somewhere balance. Education technologies are important to higher education for two reasons. One is for catering to the future student demand, for enhancing the quality of teaching and learning. They will probably have the most impact to a blended approach, that is a mix of face-to-face classroom teaching enhanced by technology-enabled learning. This is already taking place in almost all IITs and NITs and many other allied institutions in the country. I have three strategies to overcome this. One is, increase effectiveness of National Knowledge Network (NKN) and NMEICT. And action steps required to achieve this is establish a single national consortium of proprietary content. Now we say NMEICT is different from NKN. In fact, they are not different. There are two agencies doing the same job. Create open access content repositories from which institutions may select the modules they want to use. Use other advanced media of connectivity such as Wi-Fi, mobile technology, and not just restricted to the so-called EduSat. Develop an appropriate framework for procurement and development of e-content. Further develop NKN for content sharing and collaboration in R&D activities across all higher education institutions in the country. Increase the level and quality of interaction between centers of excellence in top institutions and universities and other research centers in the country. Formulate a clear policy and devise an execution roadmap to coverage NKN. Train and orient people in the age group of 25 to 35 years to make effective use of these knowledge networks, since they will be future teachers and faculty members in our institutions. I have the strategy 2 also. Develop technology-based models such as virtual classrooms to widen to high-quality teaching. Action steps are required are provide adequate bandwidth to ensure fast and uninterrupted connectivity for higher education institutions across the geographies. Build computer labs and increase availability smart and low cost access devices. This is more important. That is where actually the Microsoft Innovation Centers come into picture. Create device agnostic digitized content and pedagogy. Formalize types with best in class faculty in India or globally to deliver content. Create an affordable pricing model to maximize usage of virtual classrooms. Third strategy I propose is enable low cost access to high quality education on mass scale through MOOCs platform. And for this, action steps required are provide adequate bandwidth to ensure fast and uninterrupted connectivity for higher education institutions across the geographies. Develop device agnostic technology for accessing MOOCs. Encourage institutions providing these courses to offer certifications that are recognized and accepted by the industry to enhance employability of the student, because if somebody registers for some MOOC course, whether it is relevant or not, the institution can certify. And conclusion of my talk is, go for blended, that is conventional teaching plus MOOCs, learning in a big way. And for this, content creation involves domain experts across higher learning institutions to create a repository of online resource. Virtual labs may be expanded to cover more higher education institutions. Already virtual labs are started, institutions are using it. Perhaps at least IIT, NIT, they are aware of it. So everybody can make use of this virtual lab. Content dissemination, immediately establish e-learning centers in each institution, including flipped classrooms. This flipped classroom is very, very important. And we should not be in the name of having flipped classrooms in certain institutions, they are making a mockery of it. That should not happen. Because the other day, one senior teacher came to my institute to apply for the interview. I asked, already you are working in a very good institution, why do you want to switch over? They took from a higher job to lower job. She told me, sir, in the name of classroom, we are asked to upload my GPTs. And in the beginning, students 100% attendance will be there. After some time, 60%. After some time, even 20% will not be there. When we ask why you are not coming, madam, already to have your lectures, we did not attend. You can write exam well. When she gives in question paper, some sort of twisted question, then immediately HOD will come, why are you giving such type of question, did you give this, is it there in your PPT? This type of thing, you should not make mockery of this classroom in the name of classrooms. Infrastructure development involves is required, that is improve connectivity by allowing multiple service providers in addition to BSNL. We know BSNL quality is going down year by year, day by day. There should be competition. Set up Wi-Fi enabled campuses in every institution. Mandate use of technology for institutional governance and document management systems. Establish national knowledge functional hub to create an ecosystem of sustained industry academia engagement. Develop low-cost solutions for technology dissemination. Increase use of technology to be made part of faculty appraisal systems. Increase levels of collaboration across and among NITs, IITs, central universities, and other allied institutions, including international institutions. Incentivize, this is more into incentivize faculty to develop e-learning resources. There should be, so always, incentives makes the person to drive. Provide institutional support for all the higher learning institutions in terms of money, material, manpower for development of e-enabled learning. In fact, this was I made this presentation, during a recent directors conference with the President of India in Rashtrapati Bhavan. But all this is only from that. Okay, thank you very much. Any question?
Having already passed out a batch in blended learning process, and ICT based education, and up to 5,400 students of our own, not affiliated colleges. I find that yes, it works well with a responsible student, responsible learner. A class of people like you have just now mentioned, those who want fast track transformation, which is not actual transformation, but artificial transformation, or unrealistic transformation, fast track and high speed kind of, something like stamping, that you are a graduate.
Yeah, the director of that institute should monitor what is happening.
Yeah, so with such students, I am afraid an individual teacher can be more effective than an ICT mechanism.
I never say that, no technology, nothing can be replaced by a teacher.
No, you did not say that. What I am saying is, I am posing a problem. Like to deal with such students is a big problem. It's more of a psychology issue.
You have to go through you have to, through your trial and error method, through your experience, you have to, there is no hard and fast solution for this.
That is not there in ICT.
Yeah, it's not there.
But ICT plus
a
classroom
very much required. It's very much required. Yes.
But that's the problem.
No, technology only enables, effective delivery. It cannot replace the teacher.
So,
it never.
I endorse the fact that both of you are saying. It would never so happen that we will be in a position to, discard human resource from teaching and learning. A teacher needs to be there in the center. I mean, yesterday, sir, I think we extend that discussion since after my presentation you had put up some comments. Majority of your presentation I missed, but I got the gist of what you were saying, sir. But, teaching and learning would always be a man and machine combination. It can never be replaced by technology in any way. And as you rightly said, it needs to be regulated at every step, and only then it will have its results.
Yes.
Yeah, actually this is more or less clear that technology is an aid, should be used effectively. And the question is about not so responsible learners, but still join in a degree program and likes to get a degree. And how to deal with it.
They expect that we should post degrees in their home.
Any other question?
Outsource slowly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, for the presentation. Now we'll invite one of our speakers, Dr. G. James Pichai, Vice Chancellor, Balthea University. Please be on dais.
A very good morning to all the academicians and learners and entrepreneurs. Education is a must for Indians. Any elevation for any individual is not permanent. Any elevation through education by imbibing the knowledge, involving himself to face the world is a permanent elevation. India is permanently elevating in the world. Among the 249 countries in the world, India is the third largest in terms of higher education percentage. I am Dr. G. James Pichai, Vice Chancellor, Bharatiyar University, a state university government of Tamil Nadu, which is the number one among the 55 universities, including 21 state universities in Tamil Nadu. We were ranked in the year 2014 as the 29th rank out of 751 universities in India. In the state, we are number one. We are the largest campus with 1,250 acres of land. We have got 37 departments in this university. We have got 126 affiliated colleges in 4 districts of Coimbatore, Nilgiris, Tirupur, Erode, which is an industrially intellectual city of western part of Tamil Nadu. And we are the first university offering and started the Department of Human Genetics and Molecular Biology. There are 66 universities are offering this course, but no university is having the separate department as per the UGC's statement. India is an educating country. We are having 17.5% of the world population because world population is increasing 51 new mouths per second. We have to put a full stop. According to the Google, December 31st of 2013, the world population is 7,203,094,450. In this, we are having 17.5% of the world population. That is, according to the Google of 31st December of 2013, Indian population is 125 crores 97 lakhs 97,000 96,141. Where we are in the higher education system, we are the 6th biggest country in the world, 7th largest country in the world, 2nd largest country in Asia. In this, education is a part and parcel of us. Once upon a time, before independence, India, education was the costliest affair. We may be in the name of vice chancellors, we may be in the name of directors. We are educated from the school one. Because of our education, we are allowed to come over here. Because of your education, you are comfortably sitting and hearing the knowledge what we have gained through educational system. India is education-based country. Yes, within 7 years, India is going to be the youngest country in the world. The average age is 29 years, followed by 35 years of China, 42 years of UK, 44 years of USA. What is the gift and what the responsibility for us for our Indian youngsters? 600 billion youth of the world is Indians. That is below 25 years. What responsibility, what we are going to give them? We are not going to give an urbanized, industrialized, developed India for our youngsters. We are going to give a technically qualified, a technocrats and a knowledgeable India to the youngsters, which will lead India in the first of its kind in 2020. The entrepreneurs, skilled people like you in the Department of IT and other things will pave the way for the best of kinds in India. As Shakespeare said, what you know, what you may not be knowing tomorrow, But the Science and Technology and Education will invent, through science and technology education, you can decide what you may be tomorrow. That is why the capacity of creating technologies is the economic power of our nation, India. Our India's economic power is nothing but technologies. The technologies has to be derived through independent innovations. Innovations has to be harvested from the fertile field of research. Universities are the fertile field of research. We may be thinking that we are learned. No, if you think anybody that you are learned, you will be doomed tomorrow, because the pride of devil will always go in front of us. Knowledge. Knowledge doesn't have an age. Learning and education doesn't have dimensions, because our forefathers were more intellectuals than us, because the science and technology has not proved any pedagogy or any methodology. No intellectuals were born in the world. Every intellectuals were made by making himself, by imbibing the knowledge. If your teacher and my teacher has not sown the seed of education to the minds of the soil of the individual concern of every you and me, we would not have come over here. Of course, our involvement and imbibing the knowledge by the old technologies, still we are in mind. What is education? The education is nothing but the leftover residue, what we have forgotten through education, through knowledge by our teacher, is called education. Education is what we are having in our mind. India is one of these, that is 2.5% of the geographical area of the world is in India. That is 32 lakhs, 87,263 square kilometers of India, in which 28 main states plus one of Telangana and 7 union territories with us. We have got 646 districts as per the census of India. And we have got 1,638 languages in India. We have got 2,375 communities in India. But education is the only God. Education is the only language. Education is the only pedagogy for India. That's why Indian boys are educating. Once upon a time, education was the costliest affair for Indians. Education was available only in metropolitan cities in India. India 1947 started with the 21 universities, 589 educational institutes, with an enrollment of 1,21,768, and the United India of England, Pakistan and Bangladesh. After the struggling of 60 years of development of University Grant Commission, which was formed on 28th December of 1953 by the then educational minister of Abdul Kalam Azad. 60 years of toiling, we brought the education to stand on its own leg through the people like you, the entrepreneurs who has been helping through universities. You know, this has developed today, 60 years of involvement. The latest census of November, first week of University Grant Commission, India, we have got 751 universities, out of which 322 is the state university, 45 is the central universities, 192 is the private universities, 129 is deemed universities, 64 plus 1 is the national institutes. Recognition has been given as per the parliament assent to give degrees. So in these 751 universities, we have got 38,672 educational institutes in India, which has enrolled 2 crores, 21 lakhs, 2 crores, 21 lakhs, 61,919 as an higher education enrollment. First week of November UGC statement referred. the website of UGC. You and me are responsible for the feeding of knowledge to the kids. Yes, what is the latest methodology, what we are going to adopt and other things has to be given and taken as our challenges. What challenges we are giving? Every Indian has to be identified by his educational qualification. Every Indian has to be measured by his educational qualification. Every Indian has to be measured, weighed, identified, respected by his educational qualification. When compared to other countries, we are spending only 3% for the educational development. When compared to the China, we are less than 3 times. We request the R&D department of private institutions and research stations has to come forward to invest minimum of 25% to the state and other universities. And now the RUSA projects has come to boost the rural people, because education is coming and knocking your door of every house. High education has come and open. Bharatiyar University is operating 642 centers in 19 countries out of 125 extra affiliated colleges with the 42 community colleges. Now UGC has come forward from this academic year Bachelor of Vocational Courses of Need-Based of the rural areas, which will boost by sponsoring 1.85 crores for the rural people's development. I do accept the national institutes and other institutes of NIT, IIT and other things. Don't concentrate on creamy layer. It is always danger. What is the percentage of creamy layer in India? The rural. Yes, we are having, according to the Father of Nation, 6,74,694 villages as per the census of India. We got different cities of A grade, B grade, C grade, all those things which have access to the education. You should see the areas which are not access to the education. So now India is village because of, thanks God to the IT department. Tamil Nadu government has distributed first time in the world with 21,73,356 laptops for the last 3 years, which has paved the way, first of its kind in the world, makes the education in the palm. So, olden days, our students were writing with the 2 fingers. Now the scenario has been changed. Every student is writing with 10 hands, 10 fingers. That is the IT development. You know what is happening now? This minute will be published, will be recorded in my seat of university. Yes, universities are the lighthouse. University, the education is the illuminating torch with the latest pedagogy and latest technologies, which has to be. That is, every student should come out from the darkness of ignorance to the brightness of knowledge. Yes, Swami Vivekananda said, give me about a dozen or 2 dozen students, whether it's a men or women, who are sincere, who are the knowledgeable, who is dedicating Indians, give me, I will shake the world. In 1863 at Chicago on January 12th, what it indicates? Our forefathers' thoughts and ideas towards the development of higher education is very much interested. Otherwise, because of the barrier of language, unlock the barrier of language, concentrate on the rural development. The educational institute should go to the rural, and even we can conduct these sort of events in the rural area where the educational background is very less. We are accommodated anywhere else because we are not from the heaven as vice chancellors. We are not from the heaven as entrepreneurs. We are not from the heaven as this thing. God has created. The man, when he born, when an individual born as a poor, it is not his fault. When a man goes from this world as a poor, it is his own fault. The richness and poorness has to be measured through the knowledge, through the educational capacity, not in the wealth and the money or anything. Because of the graduating things, he will graduate the other fellow. As Anna Teresa said, education will not give you hands-on to any individual, but through your education, give hands for someone to uplift in their life, so that they will remember you. When Anna Teresa was offered PhD in the Cambridge University, the question was asked to Saint Anna Teresa, what is your opinion, what is your suggestions to improve the education and peace for this world? What Anna Teresa said to the press people, my dear young press boy and girl, go and educate your family, go and love your family. There starts the education and peace in the world. Father of Nations said, the syllabi and curricula, along with the experience and thoughts and ideas of every individual, has to be sown to the minds and soil of every individual. Yes, mind, soul and body is the three components which will measure, which will guide an individual, as Father of Nation quoted. The mind is nothing but the car. The body. The mind is nothing but your driver. The soul will decide your life. Through education, even through your education, you will be identified, as quoted by Jawaharlal Nehru. So many revolutions have come to India, but educational revolution only will stand still, stands for ever and ever, because education, augmenting the education, advancing the education, adopting the education, accepting the education, applying the education is a need-based one through latest pedagogy methodologies. Our old things are gone, but the first university, 700 BC, Takshashila, which was started in the world, is from India. 4,500 years before, Nalanda University education with 60 departments, with 10,500 what called individuals to educate. Where we are gone, where we are back. Now we have woken up. All our industrials, skilled persons, entrepreneurs have come down to help to promote education. This sort of helping tendency will make an India definitely in 2020, as quoted by previous speakers and all, we are going to rule the world through knowledge. Today, 30% of IT, 30% of science and technology, 30% of the NASA is controlled by Indian scientists. As per the records of 2013 of Finance Ministry, $77 billion has been siphoned, pumped in by pledging our knowledge, pledging our IT, pledging our pedagogy of what is the methodology for us. Because our knowledge backing, our own turmeric, our own things, methodologies has been patented in abroad. But the days have come for us because of entrepreneurship people, skilled people. We don't want bricks for India, we want brains. We don't want 125 crores, 78 lakh, 79, 60,000, 76,141 bricks. That is, we want brain, because brain is wider than the sky. Brain. We need brainy Indians. I've traveled nearly 60 countries. I learned so many PhDs in so many universities, and we worked and contributed and deputed from the government of India more than 24 countries, more than nearly 17 years. But I never seen such an intellectual people than Indians. Indian boys are the most intellectual people, the most brainy, the most retention. Even the computer is slow when compared to Indian brains. No boys are waiting for the computer to download or anything. Indian boys are so fast. That is because of the educational system of India. The contribution of state universities is very high. We are taking care of the poorest people with so many difficulties. You know that state university vice chancellors are here. My dear junior agronomist and Dr. Abdul Kalam Salam is here. I know the difficulties, but even though with the difficulties, the state university, 322 state universities are working for the benefit of the society of the poor students. Yes, we need your entrepreneurship, skilled people. Yes, in 2020, we should expect more. We want 25 to 30% involvement from the entrepreneurship, skilled people, because technology has to be powered through competitiveness. The competitiveness has to be powered by innovations. Innovations has to be powered by knowledge. Knowledge has to be powered by skill. See, everything has to be powered in interrelated, supported things. So, I take this wonderful opportunity. We're talking about the pedagogy, the latest technology which needs for Indian education to be taken to the world scenario or global scenario. I hope the next meeting will be a wonderful thoughts and ideas by way of interacting the whole session, which will take the message to the power of every individual. I thank all the learned academic society, fellow vice chancellors and the organizers for these wonderful yields and other companies for sponsoring this wonderful day, sharing our thoughts and ideas for the benefits of uplifting higher education. Through education, elevation is a must. That is the motto of Bharatiyar University. You should have a determined thought with a clear ideas and thoughts, and with clear ideas, with determined mind, ask for knowledge. Again, every individual has to be identified through education. Instead of spending your waste of energy for a creamy layer, go to the villages and get up the boys, those who are from the village and from the poor in the wealth. Make them rich in the knowledge by way of latest information technology methodologies. Thank you one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. James, for that insight presentation. Now, quickly we call upon Professor T.R. Manjunath, Vice Chancellor, Kevinton University. Please be on site.
Esteemed fellow Vice Chancellors, entrepreneurs from IC sector and all other dignitaries. I don't claim any expertise in this area. Since I was asked to speak, I happened to get some information and some information and some of my thoughts I wish to share with you. Maybe I would not take more time because I have nothing new to say. You know, on account of the term pedagogy refers to methods of teaching. You know how ICT has brought changes in teaching in classrooms with several devices like visual materials, audio-visual materials like books, transparencies, photographic slides, PowerPoint slides, compact discs, video tapes, audio tapes, etc. And with the advent of audio-visual movement at the beginning of 20th century, you find tremendous change in classroom teaching. And a section of population is quick to adapt this, and there are allied schools, allied institutions which are quick in adapting this. There are schools, colleges which are not good, which are not financially sound. They are yet to adapt this technology. No doubt, with today's PowerPoint presentation, teaching is a bit student friendly and also creates a bit of interest. I hope you agree with me that whatever may be technology is being developed, nothing can replace a true teacher who can motivate, who can create. Yesterday somebody was referring, if there is a video lecturing, a student may not feel, when a teacher teaches, he would feel it, but the same feeling may not be there when there is a video lecture. That means to say, ultimately, no technology can replace a teacher, and technology has to be student friendly and maybe should result in creating more interest. A couple of points which I would like to share here is that today's society is technology driven. Never did we imagine 20 years back that mobile would become part of our daily life. It has been the influence of ICT these years. In this context, the pedagogues have to redefine their role in these areas. I will read out. Reformations in the traditional methods of teaching are essential, as the learners cannot be confined to the classroom settings. The use of modern technological gadgets should find a place in lesson planning and teaching methodologies. The evaluation techniques used traditionally are to be redefined accordingly. New pedagogy for online learning should be developed to cope with changing demands of the learners. In this context, I would like to draw your attention to a point raised by one speaker yesterday, that despite so much of education development in India, India is still a technology consumer country. We are highly dependent on imports. Is that right at this point of time, with so much of population, all that taking the present Indian situation? That means that our emphasis is much less on innovation, research, critical thinking. And no doubt these techniques, teaching aids have helped in improving classroom teaching, but there are some concerns which are expressed by teachers as well as the students. How mobile devices are misused in classrooms, inappropriate use of these mobile, taking photos, texting friends, playing games, cheating in exams. These are some concerns in case of these mobile. And computers and internet. Yes, there are still sections of society, regions where access to computers, internet is not satisfactory. Yesterday in one of the speeches was mentioned that this voice connectivity is much less in northeast part of India. You find such inequalities now. Then when so much emphasis is being laid on online learning, people who are from poorer income background, disadvantaged sections, they are likely to be denied of opportunity of taking part in activities such as, when you speak of online, some of the communication opportunities they may miss. And another concern being expressed is digital divide. A section of population may go fast, enjoy the benefits. Another section of population may be denied, maybe because of lack of preparedness and amount of maybe social, cultural, economic poverty, and these things need to be addressed. And also, especially in public sector, of course, how efficient some of the private sector, private institutions, and the same level of efficiency we can't expect in public sector for various reasons. Now, when we use these teaching aids, equipments, the system should be good. What I mean is obsolete hardware, insufficient software, inadequate facilities, lack of support services. All these come in way of efficiency in use of these devices. We need to focus on those. Anyway, we accept that technology has a greater role to play, and it's inevitable. And there is a need to redefine the pedagogy as per the increasing innovations in the technology, especially with information and communication technology. With these remarks, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that quick brief on everything that you have said. And technology and education goes hand in hand, as we all know. And we had great luminaries who have spoken about everything, about technology, education, and as Spreet also mentioned, that technology cannot go without the human resource. So that is very important for us. So taking this thought in hand, that technology, education, educators like you who are giving education, people like me who are taking education, learning, together we can make the system more valuable. So taking this ahead, I'll ask Professor S.S. Gokhale, Director, LNM Institute of Information Technology, to please be on the stage.
Good morning to you all, friends. I introduced a little bit about myself sometime earlier. Having spent about 30 years, with MHRD and right now with a private institution, is a learning experience in itself. I was involved with number of committees. I was involved in the National Knowledge Commission for the Engineering Education, and I was also a member of the Anil Kakodkar's committee on NIT review. After working in the IITs and NITs, now I have moved on to LLM IIT, and then I stand before you to make a small presentation. Bit of it is sort of easy to read, and bit of it is controversial, but I'm going to take that particular path. So pedagogy, as it is defined, is conventional, in a conventional form. It is art and science, and now add technology to that. And let us say about 10-12 years ago, when I was at IIT Madras, and I used to use technology in the audio-video sense. Static frames, PPT, and then we were doing it. Prior to that, about 25 years ago, I wrote. I was writing some computer programs, and these programs were for children with certain disabilities. I was teaching them basically mathematics, vocabulary building, and so on and so forth. So I'm familiar with the use of technology per se, in the earlier dispensation. However, I would like to point out over here, that some of the speakers they had mentioned, saying, that what's happening, and whatever is happening is all too rapid for us to assimilate it. So right now we are standing on the inverted pyramid. Previously there used to be 1 engineering graduate to 4 diploma holders and 8 vocationally trained people from ITI. Right now we are standing upside down. Now everybody wants to be engineer. There are very few people who are going to be on the shop floor. Number of reasons for that. One is that, of course, in the past 15 to 20 years, the big switch that has taken place, in the IT-ITES, it has really changed the dimension. Also, you would notice, that engineering discipline, even though it is just about 200, 300 year old, lot more things have come out. Originally we started the genesis of engineering is basically civil engineering. And from there, now we have gemology is also engineering discipline, and so on and so forth. So quite a few things have changed, and there has been the distortion associated with this IT-ITES using the engineering pool, as a vacuum cleaner, and then automation, and then the service sector's important role. So it has been redefined. We have been talking about use of IT-ITES. Part of it is easy to understand, purely from the point of view of assistance, in the education administration. The technology, in my opinion, has still not matured. I will come to my institute and what we are trying to do, but we need to have some sort of a balancing act. So use of technology. Are we using it as a fashion statement right now? Because even the first standard and second standard student, in the LKG and UKG, they are required to have a tablet and things of that sort. Is it really required? And we are getting away from the primary focus. These are some of the classroom fundamentals with everybody is familiar. Drawing and retaining the student attention is extremely important. Immediate past review and then deliverance of the new material and information, guidance, elaboration, practice, reinforcement, etc. etc. Evaluation is something which is a critical issue, whether you are going to do absolute evaluation or a relative evaluation and so on and so forth. Quite a bit of MIS systems, they would allow you to do that. Technology limitations, the way in which I have perceived it, is that the student motivation, whether the student is going to be motivated to go through it. And then the limited attention span, when the NPTEL was first introduced, I was at IIT Madras at that time, and I was quite deeply involved into framing up how to go about it. Maximum 20 minutes of attention span you have it. What do you do later on? So this particular mix and match type of approach, we must have it. It is not going to replace the classroom teacher, but complement it hopefully. Reaching out and effectiveness in a large classroom is a major concern. The institute right now where I'm heading it, we have a classroom of the size of 200 students per classroom. Now, forget about teacher remembering half the faces. It is virtually impossible. Reaching it out, eye contact. You cannot have eye contact with anybody. And we are talking about efficacy. I think these are quite few serious type of issues associated with it. Another thing is that right now most of your entrance examinations are objective in nature. You just have to darken the circle. And the coaching institution, they have taught the students to master that particular examination by a method of rejection, elimination. So he takes a shot at it, and then JEE Main, for example, last year admitted or administered the examination for 12.5 lakh students. It's not a child's play. Technology is required. But is it giving you the best of the students, or we are picking up whatever is available to us, and then hope, that something will come out of it, This is some of the stray thoughts, how to get there, happiness, global, GDPs and inclusiveness and so on and so forth, One way to educate our heart is to look our interaction with other people, because our relationship with others is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. Now these are, some of them are philosophical thoughts, but they are important, because I do not want the whole thing to be washed away by the technology and technology alone, Creating inner space allows us to excel in whatever we do. Right now we are in a murderous hurry, the large number of students, large number of courses, 8 semesters and so on and so forth. Team building and taking everyone along by learning from each other is indeed a key. Soft skill that we are talking about, it is part of the team building, right? Critics who show concern and care for others are most valuable, and one must bring them closer. Openness of mind, which is a fundamental aspect of education. Education really matters, and this is a case study of Singapore, which is about 50 years ago, it was somewhat similar to what we have in India. I understand that we have got the oldest university and so on and so forth, but right now when we are grappling with the excellence, quote unquote, everybody from the Prime Minister to the President, they are saying, that in the top 200 nobody is there, including the IITs and so on and so forth. So we have a little bit of disconnect, in the sense, we are the oldest, but we are not the best. And let's admit it, that we are not the best, and then let's start working towards it, So more and more people get educated, they are going to have better type of opportunities, GDP is going to grow. Inclusiveness, everybody has mentioned it over here, saying, that we got to go all the way down to the rural population and so on and so forth. In a value chain, these are some of the statistics. Average salary goes up by 7, close to 8% if the graduate in metros grow up by 10%. We are talking about rural versus urban type of a divide, but notwithstanding anything, it is the urban centers, which are doing yeoman service in their own way. There are problems, there are issues. This morning the first session downstairs was the smart cities, and then those smart cities are going to be the focus for this current government as well. Students are getting bored by the static content in your textbooks, and that is the reason why this particular new technology has come about. So what is the new textbook? new textbook is a tablet, which integrates quite a few of the things. The dynamic content is there, the simulation is there, the movies you can have, the voice overs are there, and so on and so forth. So under these circumstances, you have been able to score and score well. However, the active learning is the essence of it. In the sense, as I mentioned it to you, suppose if you are going to just show the video clip, the attention span is going to be limited. But now for everything that you do, if the student has to sort of touch the screen, touch the keyboard or give input, before he will be able to move forward, that active learning will probably fetch better results. Everybody has talked about MOOCs, Khan's Academy, NPTEL, and some of these sources are easily available. And Moore's law that has resulted in lower costs is making it economically viable for all. Because right now the smartphone is available in almost everybody's pocket. How much you will be able to utilize it for learning is something which needs to be really thought about. Where will it take it? This is the US study, because we are still raw at it, and our requirements are different compared to the US requirements. But it is estimated that I am an average of 3.1 million K-12 teachers with a salary bill of 152 billion years in USA. Now, if you start using the technology, and if you are the best of the teachers, learning or teaching the student while sitting at home is also possible. The formal school education can take a different type of approach, or a different form altogether. So there will be downsizing of the classroom teaching, and then people would be able to utilize these particular technologies. College costs, they are likely to come down. Currently in India there are more than 3,500 technical institutions in the country, out of which about 100 are CFTIs, centrally funded technical institutes. And we're talking about the policy paralysis versus the profit making in the private institutes and so on and so forth. Flip side of the coin is that when you talk about government supported institutes, it's actually your and my money, which is given to these institutes. It is not something that the government pulls out from their pocket and gives it, right? Exactly in the similar fashion, we when you go to the private institutions, you would be having a person paying for the education. Whether everybody is for profit making or not, is not quite clear. Also, you would have noticed, in the past, quite a few of the colleges, which were not doing fundamentally well, they were shut down, and then the big fish was eating the small fish, and so on and so forth. We have virtual classrooms, smart classrooms, and things of that sort, by which we will be able to utilize this. India specific adult literacy rate is just about 65%, as the education system is excellent at the top, at the tertiary level, but is poor at the secondary level. This particular aspect was also mentioned by quite a few of the teachers earlier, and it is that particular level that we may probably like to concentrate. Merely right to education is not likely to change the education scenario in a big way. You need to have a major overhaul of the system. Corruption, safety, overcrowding, clamor for a good schools are some of the issues which prevents cliched concept of inclusiveness. We keep on talking about it, but it is not quite so very evident. Mobile technology, text-to-speech, game-based immersive technology, etc. These are the future directions in which we would work. Some details and some concepts. Attitude and reluctance of the teacher to adapt to the new technology is going to be a big hindrance. Administration wise, you will be using it, because the scalability issue is coming into the picture, right? But administratively, academically, suppose if you say, tell to the teacher, that you got to adopt this particular new technology, or let us say for that matter, developing your own courseware, or putting it on the recorded medium and so on and so forth, there is going to be a little bit of reluctance, because anything new hurts. So technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge, these are the three main components, which you would be able to, which you will be required to address it. Technology, Microsoft and IBM and so on and so forth, they would be able to provide it. However, the pedagogy and the content knowledge is going to be the primary responsibility of the teacher. He has to put in extra effort, and one need to
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Please go ahead.
Right. So now the question that I am posing up a little bit is that ICT, is it a total solution? Information-based education to knowledge-based economy is a challenge indeed. We are a little bit confused between the information and the knowledge. The technology is not going to provide you with the knowledge; it will provide you with the information already. Okay. Person-to-person contact has definitely placed value in the education. Students of today may be technologically savvy, but are they mature enough to decide and absorb everything that is thrown at them? The students who come to your institution, they are in the age group of 17 to 20. Most of them, they jump into computer science, electronics communication because of a parental and a peer pressure. Not necessarily because what they like. Okay? And this I have been observing it right from IIT days. So nothing so very spectacular about it. And we are asking, we are throwing him too many options, whether he will be intelligent enough to choose these. So the point that I am making is from spoon feeding by the teachers, are we heading for a technology feeding? Is there excessive technology that we are trying to push into their lap? Large number of handled well by ICT that helps administration. How about quality of the teaching learning processes? Right, okay. Everybody talks about the employability, right? So industry ready, industry connected. Little bit of a ball that I would like to throw it back to the industry. First, let me admit, that we are industry savvy. On my campus in LRMIT, I have got Microsoft GTSC program. I have got IBM. Their co-branded laboratories are there. I have HCL laboratories and so on and so forth. So I'm okay with it. But the way in which I'm doing it is that I'm putting it in a bread basket. Let the student decide about the vertical that he would like to have. And in the role of the teacher would be essentially to guide him. Saying if he takes this particular option, what is it likely to happen? I think this particular aspect is something which is very, very important. At the same time, the specific, too sharp specifics are not going to be again useful. I mean, the role of a university is to give a broad-based type of a knowledge, right? It's not a very specific to a particular industry. So you have to have again the balancing act over there. The 2 or 3 initiatives that we have taken on our campus, there is a definitive content about the faculty development programs. The industry professionals are coming, or they are inviting my faculty over there. And we are talking about, say for example, with IBM, my tie-up indicates that we will be seeking their help and support in big data and analytics, as well as mobile and cloud computing. From Microsoft, their support services, 4 or 5 students have already been selected, and then they will go. So what we have done, what we have tried to do, is we started doing some sort of academic remodeling. For example, quite a few of the companies, BITS has got industrial training as a permanent perpetual component for ages. However, even IITs or NITs are not able to do that. So we have decided that we will be in a position to identify a fast track student and then make sure that he is sort of freed in the 8th semester. and in the 8th semester he can go and start working for the industry. Industry gets the industry ready employable type of a candidate. Again, we are talking about ones and twos. When Microsoft also gave an example, 99 cents per app, and per hit, it is only one such case, If we want to average it out, or if you want to find out the impact in an average sense, I think a different picture would emerge. I'm not discouraging it, but I am at least honest enough to admit, that everybody is not going to be treated on the same sort of platform. All right. When I am here, there was a FICCI Higher Education Summit, in New Delhi. Right? One of my junior colleagues, from VNIT Nagpur, he presented work over there. This was jointly done by me and him, and so on and so forth. This is almost like a last point. The FICCI had conducted the evaluation between TechWhip Phase 1 and TechWhip Phase 2. TechWhip Phase 1, those of you who are familiar with the TechWhip, you had seen, that there was a massive input, into the infrastructure upgrade, and then faculty training and so on and so forth. In Phase 2, the research was emphasized, and three key areas or key factors were identified: core knowledge and appropriate skills, soft skills, as we are generally talking about, and UG research in the region-specific subjects. The CII's second survey indicated, that the soft skill-wise, the students have started doing well, but there is a deficiency, in the core knowledge and the skills. So this is a point for everybody's attention. I also feel, that everywhere we are talking about the technology absorption and so on and so forth. But have we ever thought about, the innovation or the entrepreneurship or whatever we are talking about, how we are going to do it? Is there any formal mechanism by which you are going to teach them? Or is there some sort of a deep insight, that has to go, So we presented a paper on the pedagogy of from what to think to how to think. And I might add over here, that our presentation won the first prize, in FICCI HAS 2014. So this is very important, because everybody is talking about innovation, everybody is talking about entrepreneurship, everybody is talking about a job giver type of a thing. So we need to have somebody, who will be able to sit together with the student and then do some hand-holding and tell him how to go about it. Distinction between a public funded and a private university should be abolished. That was one of the comments, that was heard over there. In conclusion, teacher has to be at his or her creative best. You cannot be just simply dishing out the same thing that you were doing it for ages. The second question is something which is important. Do we ever ask the student what he or she wants to learn? We are teaching them what we think is best for them, from our perspective. But we have never asked them, saying, what do you want to learn, And that goes with the interest that he might have or interest that he might lose, Right now, bigger challenge is how to bring back the student into the classroom. Everybody mentioned over here, some of you have mentioned, saying that everything is available on the web. There is no need for me to come to the classroom. I might just sit at home and learn. A lot of peripheral help and assistance is available. Technology is definitely helpful in education administration. Industry-ready employable debate will continue. Industry is right now interested and they are having their own problem. And the last point that I would like to pose a question and then stop over here is education merely for the pay package, which is the main concern for any of the student who enters into the institute. On the first day he asks, if I complete this particular course, what would be my pay package? And this is all across, forget about whether it is IITian or NITian, this is the standard question. Vis-a-vis, craving for creative and learning experience, And I might just share it with you. You know, the students who left in 2014, my very institute, and started working. In 6 months, you know, they are coming back to me saying, you know, it is boring. You know, doing that particular job is boring. You know, so the challenges, you know, are probably missing. You know, in the industry or the job that they are picking up, the challenges are missing, and as such, you know, they feel, you know, that something more needs to be done. Innovation, entrepreneurship is one such thing. I do hope some of them will come through. Thank you very much for patiently hearing to me. Thank you.
Here, one question. Thank you for the overview. On each slide, there can be a panel discussion. I can't resist myself from asking this question. Amidst this kind of confusion or in kinds of the crossroads, what do you think we will be after 10 years? India after 10 years. And the second question is, people are talking about, I don't know, people are talking about why regulation, HES 2014 were talking about difference between private and government education institutions. I don't see any difference other than in funding. I don't see any difference.
I agree with you.
And when there is, okay, in funding, why should you fund? Okay, somewhere somebody is earning public money on somewhere where somebody is also trying to earn a profit. So I don't see any difference in that sense. Actually, HES, everybody was just beating on the point. But one answer is that I don't see any difference.
I agree with you, you know, that there is not a major substantive difference, you know, between the public and the private institutions, you know. And this I am making a statement, you know, after staying in both the portals, you know. So I'm okay with the question is that whether I will be able to get good quality people, and the perception that the faculty and the students will be having, this is the government institutions, you know. So if you would look at the government institutions, you know, and suppose if you ask the student, you know, how do they choose a particular institute, you know? For example, you know,
certainly the stakeholder differentiates.
Yeah.
And then there are various parameters.
Right.
No doubt in the West, some of the private institutions have excelled. But the day the private institutions excel in India, the same scenario would be holding.
I'm sure it would, you know, because I believe, you know, that we are marching in the right direction, you know, and then the private institutions, they have a key role to play, because they occupy the 95% or 99% space, you know, in the technical education, you know, so they would be very much there, you know. Coming to your first question, you know, the 10 years down the line, you know, 10 years down the line, you know, I believe as far as the application development is concerned, you know, and the ITIT is, you know, we would be number one country, you know, because I think sufficient spark has been showed by the people, and if they would be able to, let's see, two things have happened, you know. One is that in the ITIT's domain, the risk of failure is going to be less.
Educational sector and the institutional.
No, I'm looking at the end point, you know. As far as the front end is concerned, you know, there would be more and more technology adaptation and so on and so forth, you know. There would be faculty shortage that will continue to be there, you know, you will not be able to, your administration would be much better, you know, basically because now people would mature themselves into using that particular administration. So as an institution, you know, you would probably do much better, you know, that is my feeling. As an output of the institution, I think the students would be basically competing, you know, into the newer dimension, you know. See, personally I feel, you know, that wherever we had a task set, you know, or the project mode type of approach, you know, these project mode approaches, and we have been successful, you know, whether it is a green revolution or a blue revolution or a white revolution, you know, we have been successful. You know, it is the new dimension which is changing all too rapidly. You know, ITITS is a dynamic, you know, terribly dynamic, and the transients are very sharp, and those transients are difficult for us to figure it out. You know, saying
neglected core and domain in the training and in the educational institutions worries me. Many 90% when 90% of mechanical engineering engineers go for ICT kind of a job. I'm just giving an example of mechanical engineering. The same thing is applicable for other branches. The mechanical engineering education loses relevance for both the student as well as for the institutions. Therefore, in a nutshell, to put it crudely and to pinch, the institutions need not teach mechanical engineering and students need not learn mechanical engineering and get carried away. Some seniors would say that, well, get trained in English and this kind of aptitude, and that's all. So-and-so company would, with a good probability, would pick you up. That's the scenario prevailing today. And there seem to be, in most of the institutions, and there seem to be no immediate trend showing that it's going in the right way. That's what worries me. If we are in the same situation in 2024, it will be pathetic. So I'd like to...
No, I agree with you, because every time when the student comes and then when I was in the NIT system or IIT system, I said civil engineers are required, electrical engineers are required, mechanical engineers are required. Without them, you are not going to survive. The part of the problem, I started saying it, at the beginning, saying, that we are working with the inverted pyramid right now. Because with the automation, your requirement on the shop floor has minimized. Now whether the graduate is he going to be the shop floor supervisor or a diploma holder should be a shop floor supervisor. Everybody wants to aspire, to go and become a graduate engineer, right? Number one. Number two is that we are expecting almost everybody, to be mapping themselves into the ITS type of a thing, and in there, that particular 75% unemployable type of a character comes into the picture. Where the basic requirement has reduced substantially, in terms of need of mechanical engineers, But if you see, giving example from my own institute, last year, there was a one full-page ad, in Hindu saying, that 43,000 crore rupees are expected to be put into manufacturing in Rajasthan. Now, suddenly everybody woke up, because Rajasthan state has not matured as an IT hub, unlike Ahmedabad, and then Bangalore and Hyderabad and so on and so forth. So our original dispensation was a little bit skewed, So now I started a course last year in mechatronics, So mechanical and electronics, So JCB if they come or Saint Gobain they come, you will be able to find out employable type of thing. Selling this particular aspect to the student is a challenge. Because I think parents, as a matter of fact, given a choice, I would like to counsel the parents rather than the student. Because if I show some creative challenge, to the student, he might bite it. But if the parents, who are stuck up on one particular role model, and that alone.
And also the figures of we need so many trained graduates in this area. Also, to some extent, unbelievable to me.
Yes.
Because when you need so many, you have to take anyway those who are available. And if the institutions have not trained them, or the students have not trained by themselves, the company has to train them.
Yes.
But that's not happening. So therefore, the figures are unbelievable. Your comments?
Yeah, we have partly taken care of that particular aspect, because now we have started training or started teaching as a program elective courses, in which
Do you believe the figures?
I don't believe the figures. I have difficulty in, because you flood it by so many numbers, I do not know what is likely to happen. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that presentation and interactive session. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Professor Dinesh Singh, Vice Chancellor of Delhi University. Please come and dais and share his thoughts.
talking, they are saying there's no regulation. Almost. The university system needs correction. Somebody says remove HRD, remove ACP, remove and nobody spoke about remove what happens. Somebody said you remove out of the panel, not even one speaker to speak about. If you remove regulation, what would happen if you remove regulation?
Good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be present here, and I appreciate the effort made by eINDIA and other hosts and sponsors for this event. For me particularly, this is a learning exercise, and I'm delighted to say that I'm wiser today than what I was yesterday. So I'm deeply appreciative of this gathering. I must also confess, after having heard so many speakers with so many ideas in so many directions, I've actually forgotten what I was supposed to speak on. And I sort of been stimulated to think about so many other directions. But I do recall that I'm supposed to say something on skills-based education. How do we enhance the skills? So this may be a little different from what has been discussed, but not entirely. There will be significant overlap. And you know, I'm a mathematician by training. And I'd like to confess that mathematicians don't like to begin until they have some idea of what they're discussing in a well-defined fashion. So we need to define something before we move ahead and discuss it, so that our concepts, our perspectives are absolutely clear. And we're talking about skills. So I'd like to ask, what exactly is a skill, or what are skills? And I believe this is my definition. You're welcome to disagree with me. So I'm not asking for any agreement. But my definition, and based on that, I will carry forward along those lines. Skills are nothing but knowledge in action. We talk of skills, all I mean is some knowledge input into a system, a human system or a system, and that goes into action. And once that action is implemented, a certain skill is demonstrated. You make that action better, you improve your skills. So it is really knowledge that drives action, and that's skill. You could say, so-and-so is an accomplished gardener. Now, gardening is a skill. But you know, it's not a question of wielding the spade or a clipper or learning about or just distributing fertilizer over a lawn. The idea is to acquire some knowledge. You need to understand what a fertilizer does. You need to know how to wield the clippers. You need to understand what plants need, and then implement that. The action makes it a skill. So there is always, even at that level, a certain degree of knowledge that is being put into action. So let's be very clear on that. And then I come to my second proposition. Once you have a definition, you need a proposition. And my proposition is that knowledge and skills are two sides of the same coin. Make no mistake about this. Let me demonstrate to you why I say that. So you know, some time back, must have been about 8 years ago, I picked up the quarterly report of Google for a certain quarter, 3 months. And for that exact same 3 months, I picked up the quarterly report of one of India's leading IT companies. companies. I'm not going to name the company. And I'll tell you what I discovered. At that point in time, Google had less than 10,000 employees. The Indian IT company had almost 100,000 employees. At that point in time, Google was less than 10 years old. And the Indian IT company was almost 50 years old. Google had fewer situations in different parts of the world. The Indian IT company was stationed in many countries. Now, here's the point I'm trying to make. For that quarter, Google's earnings were 3 times more than the Indian IT company. So put that into perspective and think about it. Both are doing something that requires skills. Programming, putting up servers, putting up web pages, putting up interactivity. What's the difference? I looked at that IT company deeply. I interacted with them. I suggested many things to them. I invited them into my university. No response. The difference is that the IT company has very little knowledge driving its efforts. Pure mechanical work without much thought process. Simple thought processes. That's it. Repetitive. Whereas Google was being driven by a knowledge engine that had come from the corridors of Stanford University. The people at Google didn't really fully create that. That already existed within the undergraduate systems of Stanford. I'm emphasizing undergraduate. Think about that also. So that's the point I'm trying to make. That if you really wish to drive yourself forward either at an individual level or at an institutional level or at the level of a nation, recognize this first and foremost. That knowledge and skills are just two sides of the same coin. And then let me tell you how to go about getting better things through better skills implementation. And I'll do this first by, again, mathematicians, when they give a definition and prove a proposition, and they love to give examples. Nothing like 3-4 examples to make things very clear. You know, I'm a great admirer of Kabir. Great. If you just look at his poetry, forget the spirituality. Just look at it from the literary point of view. Look at the poetry, the rhythm, the choice of words, the meters he uses. Now that's knowledge. But it's knowledge and skills. You have to be skillful at crafting these things. And where did Kabir acquire these from? By all accounts, Kabir really didn't go to any formal system of education. He had one guru. But there is really not much on whether the guru schooled him. I have no idea. There's something else here I want to illustrate. Kabir was a weaver. He was using his hands. He was using his hands. And I have looked at weavers the world over. I have looked at weavers in Andhra. I have looked at weavers of Native Americans in North America. All of them craft marvelous poetry. All of them. You see, there is a rhythm to weaving. There's a certain logic. There's a certain amount of structure. And when you do that with your hands, it stimulates your brain in a certain way. Mahatma Gandhi repeatedly said this. We have forgotten. He repeatedly said this. In education, what you do with your hands will enter your heart. This is the father of the nation. And remember this, Gandhi never spoke on anything until he had experimented and derived conclusions through that experimentation. In the context of education, and I'm deeply saddened that in India we do not pay attention to what Gandhi said and did in education. You know, he first set up a school in South Africa which he ran personally. He was the principal of the school, whatever it means. Then he came to India and he set up a university in Ahmedabad that functions till today. I have never seen that university invited to any conclave of vice chancellors or any discussion on education. But it functions till today. It's a full-fledged university, Gujarat Vidyapeeth. Maybe my friend Dr. Harish knows about it. Think about that. And then, when he went to Wardha, he set up a polytechnic for women. And one more thing. They say he was against science, he was against technology. In this polytechnic for women at Wardha so many years ago, he put on its governing body India's foremost scientists. There was C.V. Raman, there was Jagdish Bose, they were all there on the governing board. And they said he was against science. After all these experiments, Gandhi said, what you do with your hands will enter your heart. Hands and skills, one and the same thing. Why do I say that? I just mentioned Kabir, but you think about this. Just think about it. Jesus was the son of a carpenter, and he helped his father. Make no mistake. Look at Jesus' life. He helped Joseph with his work in carpentry. Think carefully. I looked at Michael Faraday. He had no formal education beyond the second grade. In his time, he became the greatest scientist of the world. And all his life, he is doing things with his hands. All his life. He started out as a lab attendant. By then, he had already made great discoveries. But he had no compunction working with his hands in his lab, creating simple things as a lab attendant. And those simple things with his hands were connected to knowledge systems in both ways. They were giving him knowledge and knowledge was giving him those things. That is two sides of the same coin. You must be adept and must be proud of this business. Do not differentiate. I keep hearing policymakers in my country and other parts of the world, skills, put up a polytechnic, skills, put them into +2, skills, put them into vocational. Don't do that too much, please. Keep them connected to knowledge systems. C.V. Raman, one of the most skilled persons with his hands when it came to building apparatus. His entire Nobel Prize winning work experiment cost him less than 200 rupees because he didn't import anything. He built that whole apparatus with his hand. And what have we done in India? Now, whatever that instrument is called is not manufactured in India at all. It is imported from abroad for our labs at great expense. Why? Because we have divorced this business of using your hands from knowledge systems. Our students, my colleague who's not here right now, kept talking about mechanical engineers. I wanted to ask him, how many mechanical engineers have actually ever built anything through their own hands in those 4 or 5 years of their learning? And if they do that, they will have no trouble finding their true place in society. But it isn't just Raman or Kabir or Gandhi or Faraday. Einstein, all his insights into gravitation came because he was managing his father's electromagnetic goods factory. And at one time, even after he had a PhD in physics, Einstein almost thought of giving up his career in physics to run his father's factory because his father was not well. The point I'm trying to make is this. Einstein also was using his hands. His ideas about gravitation came from all the work he did with those magnets, electromagnets. The story is endless. It just goes on and on and on. Newton did what he did because he was skilled. You know, his insights into gravitation come from his experiments on light. I have never seen schools, colleges ever explain why Newton thought of the theory of gravitation. What gave him that gravitation equation, law of gravitation? It's really his work on light. And why did he do work on light and how did it help him? Because he was a skilled craftsman. He constructed all those apparatus for light by himself. As a child, he began to play with light. When he went to this fair near his home, a country fair, his mother gave him some money. He didn't buy any toys. He bought himself 2 prisms, not 1, 2. This was Newton, 2 prisms. Came back, started playing with the prisms, and he saw it splits into 7 colors, white light. Put the second prism, it combines again. That gave him to understand there are 7 colors that comprise white light. And he went on and on with his hands. Then he built his theory. As I said, it's not necessary, but it works both ways. And remember this. In this country, we have had a glorious tradition of knowledge and skills going hand in hand hundreds of years before the time of Christ. I'm not talking of chauvinism. I'm not talking of fundamentalism. I'm talking of hard history. People talk of MOOCs. You know, to my mind, the first MOOC was created in India when the Rig Veda, without dilution in content, quality, pronunciation, and the actions that accompany the chanting of any Vedic month, went across the length and breadth of India without change in quality and content. Just think about it. In those days, when there was no technology, they figured out a way of teaching the whole nation per se of the recitation of the Vedas. From the north, Kashmir, to the absolute south here, they knew how to do it in the same style. The length and breadth of the country. But leave that aside. Let's look at practical things. Indian tradition and knowledge systems drove the economy, drove society. And you know, India begins to suffer economically and otherwise after the destruction of knowledge systems in India. Nalanda, Takshashila, and many other universities that we do not know about yet, but which are being discovered by the day, were destroyed. And India begins to decline because they were driving our systems of economy. Pythagoras' theorem was discovered in India for practical needs. व्यवहारिकता इसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं. Knowledge वो व्यवहारिक भी होना चाहिए. सिर्फ माइंड में लेके चलेंगे, it's not going to help us. That theorem was discovered for practical needs of society. And there are records, not my statements, records by Western historians, thinkers, and even Indian now. Only when the white man says something we follow. Which tell us that Pythagoras came to India. Voltaire, hundreds of years ago, writes that there is no doubt that he came to learn from the Brahmins on the banks of the Ganga. This is Voltaire writing hundreds of years ago. There's a professor of history, of maths at Berkeley, almost 100 years ago, writing that he obviously came to India. But we never learned that. And the theorem in India came out of practical needs of society. You had to learn to lay bricks in a certain formation, to build a certain sacrificing fire altar. Exact shape, dimension, area was specified. Geometry had grown out of these practical needs of skills-based construction. Knowledge was coming out of that. Let's not forget that. People say Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India. My God. How people falsify history. About a year ago, I met a distinguished professor of history from Portugal, a white lady, and I asked her. She said, no, he had no idea. He was brought to India by an Indian navigator by the name of Kana. And what was Kana doing? Kana was just one of hundreds of shipmen who were constantly taking Indian ships off our western coastline beyond Africa regularly. At this point in time, when Kana and others know how to navigate the seas, and I'll tell you why they knew that. At this point in time, Newton, the greatest mind that has ever lived, deposes before the British Parliament that as of now, science has no means of determining position at sea. At that point in time, Indian ships, Indian shipmen were taking our ships right across. Why? Because they had an instrument with them called Rapalagai. That's the word in Kerala given to that instrument. In the north, it has another name which I've forgotten. But because I'm in Kerala, in Rome, do as the Romans do. Rapalagai is the name they gave it in Kerala. What was that? It was a rope constructed in a special way with knots on it in a logarithmic scale. They understood logarithms much before they were invented in the West. And they used that to determine latitude, longitude at sea. And that's what Kana also used, and he brought them. I've come across a book recently, again, written by the way, this business of Kana and Vasco da Gama was first brought to my attention by a Harvard professor. Nobody in India talks about these things. Let's take pride, and I don't want this pride to just be there for pride purposes. I want it to inspire us to learn from the past how we could take systems into the future. That's the learning I want to happen. That's what we need to think about. And this business of learning to chart your route, this skill, comes from a knowledge system. Our universities, they were connected to the needs of society. And that was driving the economy. Why was India called the golden bird? Because our merchantmen could travel such long distances with accuracy and carry forward trade coming from India. Incidentally, the calculus was discovered in India 500 years before Newton. Again for practical purposes. And finally, this was discovered first, the first recorded evidences of Bhaskaracharya in the 12th century, where he defines the derivative, calls it tat kalik gati, instantaneous velocity, the exact same word that Newton uses 500 years later. And that calculus kept developing all the way into Kerala, where everything in the north had been destroyed. And again, 200 years before Newton, they knew how to write down the Taylor and Maclaurin series of functions, and using that in Kerala, they charted nautical tables for ships, which then went faster, straighter, better than Western ships, because they were using nautical tables coming out of Indian systems of knowledge. Think about that. Somewhere our university systems have become too insular and too much of the Brahmanical in this negative sense. Brahmanical has a very positive connotation. But the negative one is this: no, we don't want anything to do. Give us a campus 100 miles away from everything. Give us a campus that is 500 acres. We want to be as far away from society as we can. Don't do that. And get them to work with their hands. That is the thing that I'm forever mentioning. And don't look down upon any skills system. You know, I used to look down upon chartered accountants. Please forgive me. In my younger days, I thought, what is this? It's just accounting. Till I learned that the actuaries of England, much before the engineers, sir, much before the engineers, invented signal processing for actuarial needs. All the terms, all the ideas are there, coming out of this basic skill of being an actuary and learning how to account and use actuarial knowledge for that. Just think about that. And it isn't just that. There is, in mathematics, a very deep theory called the theory of braids. You know what it is about? Braids. Braiding your hair. Choti banana. It started with that. कैसे चोटी बनाते हैं, महिलाएं कैसे बनाती हैं. And from there, just looking at that, mathematical ideas came forward, and it is a deep theory of mathematics. Exactly the same way, there is a theory of knots. It's literally knots as we understand them. गांठ बांधना रस्सी. तरह तरह की गांठ बनती है, सेलर्स बांधते थे. किसी को ध्यान आया कि इसमें कुछ पैटर्न्स हैं, कुछ आइडियाज हैं. That has developed into one of the deepest mathematical theories, the theory of knots. And today, it is used in genetics. Just think about this. रस्सी से गांठ बांधते बांधते theory निकली, उसको मैथमेटिकल बनाया, अब वो जेनेटिक्स में इस्तेमाल होती है. कहां से कहां यात्रा होती है नॉलेज की, परंतु तभी होती है जब उसको स्किल्स से जोड़ के रखें. तो मैं यही कहना चाहता हूं. I really don't know what is the distinction between knowledge and skills? Let us not do that. But then we must redefine education first and foremost. भारत की इस समय प्रधान आवश्यकता क्या है कि हम समझें कि शिक्षा किसको कहते हैं। मैं अब समाप्त करने वाला हूं। कभी कभी डर लगता है कि यह ना ऐसा प्रतीत करूं कि मुझे सब कुछ आता है। आई डोंट, मैं भटक रहा हूं, इसीलिए आपके पास आया कि कुछ रास्ता निकालना है। But we must find the way by first defining clearly what we think is education. In my dictionary, education is a very personal thing. It is a search inwards. It's a journey of the self to discover who we are. हम कौन हैं, क्या चाहते हैं, इस पृथ्वी पे क्या कर सकते हैं, क्यों आए। अंतर्ध्वनि, the inner drum beat. Let's catch that. You catch that drum beat, you start getting educated. And you look at the great people who were, in my dictionary, educated. You look at Jesus, no education. You look at Kabir, no education. You look at Mahatma Gandhi, he had no university degree. गलत अवधारणा है लोगों में कि गांधी के पास कोई यूनिवर्सिटी की लॉ डिग्री थी. That degree is not a law degree. He was just allowed to practice it as a barrister. It has nothing to do with university education. 3 साल इंग्लैंड में आपको रेसिडेंस में रहना पड़ता था, 3 डिनर एनुअली अटेंड करने पड़ते थे, एक सरल सा इम्तिहान लिखना पड़ता था, बस. Nothing else. He had no education. But look, who was Gandhi's spiritual guru? The man whom Gandhi says gave him the spiritual path, which helped him become what he became. A successful diamond merchant of Surat. Think about this, Dr. Harish. Successful diamond merchant of Surat. Raichand Bhai. Raichand Bhai was Gandhi's spiritual guru. He was a skilled person. He knew how to trade in diamonds. But he was spiritually evolved through that skill. All of them. भगवान बुद्ध किस यूनिवर्सिटी में गए, गुरु नानक कहां गए थे? So don't connect this with any formal system. The idea is to allow people to discover themselves and you start getting educated. But education never gets complete. जिंदगी बीत जाती है. गालिब ने कहा था कि जाना कि कुछ न जाना, वह भी एक उम्र में. Newton said the same thing. They all say the same thing. So let's understand ये जर्नी कभी समाप्त नहीं होगी. समाप्त उसके लिए होगी तो वो ईश्वर बन जाएगा. रामकृष्ण परमहंस, जिनको गांधी ने कहा था कि लिविंग गॉड है, what does he say? So long as I live, I learn. तो ये समझ लीजिए, ये अंतर्ध्वनि को पकड़ के उसके अनुकूल इस पृथ्वी पे चलना कठिन कार्य है, लेकिन हम प्रशिक्षित होने लगते हैं जब ऐसा आरंभ करेंगे. When we start doing that. But then bring in skills and bring in group activity and bring in the needs of society. नन्ही मुन्नी जाने हैं, ये प्रेरित होती हैं, ये इंस्पायर होती हैं जब आप इनको समाज की चुनौतियां दीजिए. मेरे पिताजी ने कहा था, जब गांधी ने कहा कि समाज में चुनौती है इस समय, सिर्फ स्वतंत्रता की नहीं, बेरोजगारी की है, तो उनकी पीढ़ी जुड़ गई, तमाम तरीकों से जुड़ गई. ये चुनौतियों को सामने रखना आवश्यक है और शिक्षा की संस्थाओं को ये रखना चाहिए. And you must get students to use various knowledge systems combined with skills in group activity. And lastly, I'm not prescribing too much. Do not undermine the role of technology. For God's sake, do not. I've heard many distinguished speakers say, you cannot replace a good teacher. You cannot replace a good teacher. मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, आपके पूरे जीवन काल में आपके पास कितने अपने व्यक्तिगत अनुभव रहे बड़े अच्छे गुरुओं के? मुश्किल से 1, 2, 3 मिलते हैं. I studied at one of India's so-called best colleges. Ranked consistently number 1 for the last 20-30 years. Mathematics मैंने वहां से पढ़ी, BA Honors in Mathematics. 10 टीचरों ने पढ़ाया, 8 न पढ़ाते तो मेरा भला होता, 2 ने सही पढ़ाया. बाकी मैंने क्या किया? मैं भाग्यशाली था. मेरे सहपाठी, my classmates, my contemporaries, they stimulated me and we had access to good books. अब तो टेक्नोलॉजी है, स्टिमुलेशन उसके माध्यम से भी मिलता है, मेंटोरिंग भी हो जाती है. छात्रों को बहुत घेरना नहीं चाहिए. There is a study in the United States. Unfortunately हमारे यहाँ ये स्टडीज नहीं उपलब्ध होती है. मैं इनको अमेरिका में फॉलो कर रहा हूँ बरसों से. There's an American study which shows how 2-year-old children are, how creative they are when it comes to colors and choice of patterns. Then in 3 years they get more creative. 4 years they start entering kindergarten, creativity goes down. खत्म होने लगती है. और मैंने ये अनुभव किया है. स्कूल के बाद अंडर ग्रेजुएट कम हो जाता है, अंडर ग्रेजुएट के बाद मास्टर्स और कम, और पीएचडी वालों से तो डर लगता है. क्षमा कीजिएगा. It is like that. And we need to think about that. हम उनको घेर लेते हैं. देखिए, मैंने कहा ना, गालिब ने कहा कि जाना कि कुछ ना जाना वाकई एक उम्र में आप हद से ज्यादा मत पढ़ाइए, कम पढ़ाइए, सही तरीके से पढ़ाइए, उनके दिमाग को खोल दीजिए, सोचने की प्रक्रिया को प्रज्वलित कर दीजिए. बाकी वो जीवन भर अपने से करता रहेगा. कहना बहुत कुछ है, लेकिन ये समय नहीं है. किसी और दिन बात करेंगे. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Mr. Jeshwant. That was very, very interactive. Thank you for that. And we'll be taking a short break now for tea. I know it's very late. So I'll please request everybody to be back in the next 15 minutes so that the tea is right outside here, so we don't have to go anywhere. Please do this and please come back so that we can finish up our next session and go for lunch after that. So I'll request everybody to please have tea, cup of tea, and please come in.